What's going on, guys, and welcome to today's video. And yeah, I put out a video recently on the new ZX6R purchase here, my 2025, and almost all the comments were really rowdy about the new recall that came out. Now, that video was filmed prior to the recall coming out, and it didn't really get mentioned, obviously. So then when the video came out after the recall was announced, there's been a whole lot of mess in the Kawasaki world about that. So I thought we would do a little bit of explaining and hopefully a little bit of exploratory surgery here on my new bike and see what we can figure out. Now, what the big deal is on these 24 and 25 ZX6Rs is a small issue with the engine. And that issue is the number 5 crankshaft bearing. Now, your crankshaft is the big thing at the bottom with all of your piston rods connected to it that spins really quickly and really quickly on a sport bike. And when you don't properly torque or properly have bearing clearance, that spinny thing can stop spinning very rapidly. And I guess that's what they're finding is the number 5 bearing cap was over torqued or potentially over torqued. Now, I can't remember if there's like 17,000 or 14,000 of these things that have been built from 24 and 25, and apparently they are only expecting to have about 1% affected, but they currently don't really know how to determine which build range or what is actually affected. So they went ahead and just put a do not ride order recall on all 24 and 25s, which of course affected this 2025. Now, what the apparent repair or the inspection is going to be is looking at the torque on the number 5 crank bearing. Now, apparently someone called and talked to somebody at Kawasaki that was able to explain to them, and they will be able to go through the side cover or a side cover, access and inspect those bolts for torque, and then be able to determine if that bike needs the engine torn apart or not. Yeah, that's not really a great thing. Now, if it is truly just a side cover inspection, and again, 99% of these bikes are going to be passing, that's not really a big deal. Now, I work in the dealership, in the car world, when there is recalls constantly, and people absolutely don't go in for recalls unless they're forced to. I mean, there are cars driving around with 10 recalls from 10 years ago, and the vehicle's never blown up or had an issue. So I guess I'm a little less concerned with recalls. Now, having a crankshaft lockup on a motorcycle is a little more concerning because if the crankshaft locks up, that is directly tied to the transmission, that is directly tied to the chain, which you get where I'm going. It's tied to the back tire. If you were doing 60 mile an hour down the road and had this failure and it were to completely seize up, that back tire would basically go from 60 to 0 in a very short amount of time. If you were in a straight line, you could probably keep the thing in line, grab the clutch really quick. And again, if you were to grab the clutch, this all would spin back up and be fine, or at least fine enough to get you off the road. But the issue is if it was going on in a corner. If you were leaned over in a corner and had the back tire lock up, you're immediately going to be down. There's no saving it. I don't know if anybody's a good enough rider to be able to be thinking ahead enough to grab a clutch and get the thing back in line. It would happen very quickly and put you on the ground. But again, with our 1% fail rate on these things, most of us are not going to be affected. So that is the recall, that's the issue. And again, they still don't really have a repair. There's no official repair. There's no actual inspection to be done yet. They're just saying, hey, don't ride them, park them in the garage and wait. So it's obviously riding season, and I actually just turned this bike over 600 miles. So it is time for its first oil change. So I thought we would today go ahead and do our first oil change, but we're actually going to be cutting the oil filter open and inspecting the pleats for metal. I guess in my mind, if we've got a bearing that is over torqued bolts are over tightened, we are going to be shedding some bearing material, whether that is really small microscopic stuff or larger shards of bearing material. I would assume we would have something in the oil filter. So again, we're gonna change some oil as we should with our 600-mile break-in oil change and cut the oil filter open and see what we've got. Because all of this is in preps for a track day that I'm doing this coming weekend. And yeah, I think pending weather, as long as it's dry, I think we're gonna probably be at the track with this thing. Now, I have been off track. I used to do motorcycle track days quite a bit, but I haven't done a motorcycle track day in 7 years. Kind of around the time I bought that Camaro and started doing track days with that. So pending everything's well, pending we don't have a whole bunch of metal in our filter, this thing's gonna get track prepped and hopefully make some good laps around Hallett Motor Racing Circuit again next weekend. So let's get this thing in the garage, let's get the oil drained, and let's cut open an oil filter and see what we've got inside. All right guys, so we've got the bike here in the garage now. I did go ahead and run it and get it warmed up till it was 140 degrees or so. We're just trying to get a little bit of heat in the oil so it will drain, you know, more easily, better, whatever you want to say. You just don't want to change it on completely cold oil. It will just drain better. So let me show you what we've got here. We'll get a drain plug pulled and then we'll get the filter going. So we've of course got our factory OEM Kawasaki filter with a new drain plug crush washer. We do have a little oil filter wrench here because the oil filter locations on these are just absolutely terrible. And then there's gonna obviously forever be debate on engine oil. I've always had good luck with Mobil 1. I run it in all of my high performance stuff here that gets beat on and ran really hard, and it's never let me down. So this is what I've always ran in my sport bikes here, the 1040 Mobil 1 Racing T4. You can pick this stuff up at Walmart is where I found it the cheapest, and there we are. Now, there is our star tool here, is a oil filter cutter. If you want one, you can pick these things up on Amazon or eBay for really cheap. I'll throw a link down in the description if you want to start cutting open your own oil filters at home so you can be paranoid like myself on what you find inside. Now we've got a 17mm socket so we can knock our drain plug off here, and then again the horrible filter location on a 636 is up on top of all of this mess here. We've got a low profile Harley Davidson drain pan from Dad's Road Glide Ultra that will fit really nicely under here. Now, we are gonna do the aluminum foil trick, which I just recently saw online. That's when you build a little funnel out of aluminum foil and drain it without getting anything on the bike. So that's gonna be a trick right there. So let's get this thing draining and get that filter off. Now I guess I will quickly show you our mileage. I could not have gotten it better. On the way home from work last Friday, I rolled 600 miles on the dot as I was pulling into the garage. So we are very official 600-mile oil change here. Now, one thing I do always also do is pull my oil fill cap here on the other side, just again to kind of help with draining if we don't have any vacuum, etc. Everything drains better if you've got the fill plug pulled off. Now guys, looking at the oil, I know it's going to obviously not come through on camera, but we still can see through the oil. That's, you know, again, this thing only has 600 miles, but yes, the oil is still an amber color. It's still see-through. I'm not seeing any big, massive chunks draining out here. But again, those would hopefully all be caught in that oil filter up high. All right guys, so with our big sheet of aluminum foil here, we're going to make a funnel of some sort. So I've got about 4 layers now, you know, folded in half and then in half again. So it'll hopefully be thick enough and hold its form. I guess the thought here is to get this under the plastic little spout and be able to fashion a funnel, again, as you guys can hopefully see, to get it off and away from the motor, because that's the biggest issue on these is when you're pulling that oil filter off, it just absolutely makes a massive mess all the way down the motor. So with this custom aluminum foil funnel, we will hopefully have a nice clean engine still. So we will grab our, I believe, 65 millimeter oil filter cup socket. Oh, look how perfect it works. Oh my gosh, guys, what a game changer. Oh, look at that. That is pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a fan. So we'll get this thing off and out of here. Oh my goodness, that is pretty awesome, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so I've already got my new oil filter spun on this thing. Let's go ahead and get this one cut open and see if there's anything in there. All right. Now, keep in mind, I do always assume there is going to be a teeny bit of debris from cutting an oil filter open. I mean, we just used a blade to saw through the filter. So keep that in mind, but let's take a look here. Looking in the bottom of the filter, I see nothing. And again, that's not really where we would be looking, but I at least wanted to look there first. Again, we've got our rubber seal here at the bottom. And I guess I really don't know how much metallic there would be just in a stock motor on break-in. You know, it's gonna have more than normal because it's, again, a brand new engine. Any teeny little microscopic debris and stuff like that from the manufacture process are, you know, going to be in there. Let's see, this is going to be hard to show. Let's set our filter material down and let's look here. Again, there's a decent amount of stuff, but I don't know how much of that is going to be clutch material. Being a motorcycle with a wet clutch, none of it looks huge and bearing type. Again, and I'm not sure how well. Here's our pressure relief valve. Can you guys see? So there's all these little black specks in the oil, just absolutely everywhere. Now, I don't really have any way to know what that would be because it's going to be non-metallic or magnetic, because if it's clutch material, that of course isn't going to be magnetic. And if it's, you know, aluminum bearing material, that of course isn't going to be magnetic. So yes, there is little teeny black. It looks like pepper almost. That would be a really good explanation. And again, I can't, there you go. You can see here, it looks, again, like little teeny pieces of pepper. I guess in my mind, I wouldn't associate that with bearing material. Again, I assume that is going to be clutch material from a motorcycle wet clutch. Now, looking in the bottom of this filter, again, we've got a bunch of that little peppery stuff. We do have some, you know, aluminum, I guess, looking particles, but I don't know how well. Again, some of these are little bubbles in the oil, and then some of that is aluminum material. Now, is that, all right, there's the bottom. Look at all that stuff. All right. Is that bearing material? Is that all clutch material? Again, most of it is that little peppery looking stuff that, again, I would assume is clutch material. But again, there are some aluminum pieces. I would absolutely say that. But is this normal for 600-mile break-in, or is this catastrophic engine failure? I have no idea. Now, last but not least, let's see if we can't get this filter material apart and see if we've got anything weird on here. Or in here, I should say, in the pleats. That's what we're looking for. That is some strong glue. There we go. All right, we're on the run now. Okay, let's look at this together. What do we got? Again, you can see a little, that surely is aluminum, but gosh, most of it is that black pepper looking material. Wow, this one has some blue material. Can you guys see there? Right there is blue. Is that gasket material? Is that assembly something? There is random blue colored, again peppered in with a bunch of the black speckles. This one has a decent amount in this little pleat, all up here at the end. Again, a bunch of the blue, some of our aluminum colored stuff. Ooh, we've got orange, my goodness. There is, you guys can maybe see, can I get it turned right? We've got orange speck there, orange specks there. What is the orange color? We are just all the colors of the rainbow here. Pretty much just the black pepper stuff. Goodness gracious, we've got colors again. Big chunk of the orange material. Again, guys, this is kind of one of the important things about an early first oil change, is getting all this garbage out of the motor. Even if you don't have a recall for your engine blowing up, it's a good idea here. Again, I keep trying to find larger pieces, and so far, all we're seeing is, wow, there's some white. What in the world? All right, guys, I know you guys probably can't tell. That is absolutely 2 chunks of white mixed in with some of the black pepper and the blue stuff. Wow, we've got just any color we can think of, but we're still working our way through here. Again, oh my goodness, so much of, that's green. All right, right there. We've got blue, we've got a sliver of aluminum, we've got the orange, the blue, and a weird teal green colored chunk. Kawasaki uses all the colors. Again, just, it's all about the same story here, guys. Nothing too terribly large. And again, I guess I'm not a good person to be doing this. I don't know what's normal on a motorcycle for break-in oil, for crap in the filter. Right there, that right there where I'm pointing, that's a decent little sliver of aluminum. Right there, that's a chunk. But again, what's normal, what's not, I have no idea. I just wanted to show you guys what I found here, or am finding. Again, it's all very similar. Bunch of little teeny pieces. Wow, there's a chunk. All right, I'm gonna call that a chunk. That's a piece right there. Let me see if I can get this thing. All right, that is a pretty decent little sliver of aluminum. Yeah, right there on my glove. That's a decent sliver. Again, is that normal? Is that the bearing failing? No clue. But it's a chunk, I'll tell you that. Let's keep going through our book here. Another teeny little sliver. Again, just all full of the peppered blue, orange, just tons of colors on everything down in the pleat of this filter. Same story, different page. We're getting kind of less here. We must be on the other side of the filter. Some, gosh, orange, blue, pepper, and some slivers. Another decent little sliver there, you can see kind of at the bottom. Ooh, that's got a decent sliver right there, goodness. Can you guys, yeah, right there in the middle, in the bottom. Very similar to that other larger one that we found. All right. And I don't think there should be anything on the inside because this should be the clean side of the filter, not the dirty side. So yeah, this side has absolutely nothing. This is, again, the clean side going back into the motor versus dirty coming from motor, you know, from the motor, and this is back into the motor, if that makes sense. So that's what we found. Lots of our black pepper weirdness like at the bottom of the filter. Some of that, again, is little aluminum, teeny little chunks. There's a big, there's a big blue chunk down there floating in the oil that I'm chasing around. All right, guys, so that is that. Of course, I need to put our drain plug back in with our new crush washer and get this thing full. I think these things are like 3 3/4 quarts. I need to, again, look it up and verify. But yeah, what did we find out? I guess let me know down in the comments if you watched this long in the video. What do you think of what we found? Have you done your own oil filter dissection on new motorcycles for their first oil change? Is that pretty normal for all of that black peppery stuff from, I assume, clutch material breaking in, wearing in? Like I said, this thing has 600 miles, but it's been driven very, very easily. I've not kept it under its 4,000 mile recommended RPM for break-in. I have been just daily riding it to work, which again, at highway speeds sends me well over the 4,000 RPM recommended break-in, but it has had no hard pulls, no red line acceleration. It's been driven very, very conservatively for these 600 miles. So yeah, what do you guys think? Is that catastrophic? Is that normal? I really don't know because I've never cut open a new engine's oil filter, or specifically a motorcycle engine's oil filter with a wet clutch that I assume gets a lot more junk, a lot more trash into the oil versus not. So I guess as of now, my plan is to probably potentially track day this thing this coming weekend. Now, I will be throwing a steering dampener on this thing just for added peace of mind, reassurance while on track. And they look cool, so why not? We'll throw a cool track part on this thing. And then I'll be pulling our rear fender eliminator off, taping up some lights, pulling some fuses for our lights, and she'll be as ready as she's gonna be for a track day. So again, let me know down in the comments, what do you think of that oil? What do you think of the filter? What do you think of our little salt and pepper mix there in the filter? And hopefully, maybe this one is not one of the 1% affected, but I guess time will tell, and eventually a recall will tell if and when this thing goes in for its inspection. But we're probably gonna keep riding it. Kawasaki, don't listen to this. We're gonna probably keep riding it daily and putting it on the track because it's nice outside and it's riding season, and that's what we need to do. So guys, hopefully maybe you don't have a 24 or 25 ZX6R and have to worry about what's in your oil filter, but if you do, maybe you now know what might be lurking in there. So guys, thanks for coming out into the garage with me and doing our first break-in oil change on the new 25 ZX6R. And hopefully it's not our last oil change on this motor, but we'll find out together, and maybe see you guys at the track next weekend. Maybe, probably, we'll see. Pending weather, pending motivation. So, thank you guys, as always, for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time. Well guys, in typical me fashion, I've filmed the entirety of this video and have yet to get it edited. And in that time of not editing the video after filming, there's already been the recall that's come out, and guys have gotten the recalls taken care of. So I guess we'll just kind of continue this video, since at the time of filming, the recall hadn't been announced, or it hadn't been released on what the actual correction was going to be. So now that the recall's out, we know what's going to happen. When you take your 24 through 25 ZX6R into the dealership, they are going to do an inspection to see if your passes or fails. Now, what is the extent of the inspection? They are going to be removing a few covers on both sides of the bike, or the engine, I should say. We're taking our cover here that houses the starter gears, all of that. I believe both the clutch cover and the, is that primary cover? Don't quote me. Both of our big covers down low on the bike will be removed because they're checking for main bearings that have spun or not. Again, once you get some of that stuff pulled apart, you're able to look through those covers and look at the bearing halves and see if those bearing halves have turned, shifted, moved, and if they've moved from perfectly side by side or perfectly flat, if you will, that means the engine's going to need to be replaced, be rebuilt. I guess I'm not really sure on that side of things. But if both of those main bearings are good, they haven't moved, and there's no heat scoring checking on the, I believe, crankshaft on one side or the other, that is a passing inspection. They replace, or retorque, I should say, the main bearing bolts on number 1 and number 5 bearing, and put it back together, do an oil change, and boom, you're done. Now, since the recalls come out, Kawasaki just recently released a letter letting owners know that after the recall is completed, you will be given basically a 12-month extended warranty for their condolences, consideration, for their whatever, for the big, massive mess. So there is a little incentive to take your bike in for the recall. This bike has not made its way to the dealership, as it was just recently tracked. I think I was talking about at the end of this video that this thing was going to a track day, and it absolutely went to the track day and did really well. It was my first track day in like 7 years, so it was a little bit of a learning curve getting back on track on 2 wheels. But we kept the tires on the ground, we kept the plastics off the road surface, and now I just need to decide when I want to have the darn recall done, and I really don't want to do it during riding season and be out of a bike, because with my luck, this thing will fail inspection. It'll need engine torn down. It'll need rebuilt, and golly, I don't know if I want to do that to this poor thing just quite yet. So that is the update at the end of the video that I hadn't even edited at this point, and now I can finish editing this video now that I've added this big long ordeal talking about the actual recall and the extended warranty that Kawasaki is giving owners. So guys, if you've got one, get with your dealer. If you want it done, you get an extended warranty, which is kind of cool. 12 months added on to the end of the factory 12-month coverage. So we're basically getting a 24-month warranty on our 12-month warranty bikes if you didn't buy any extended coverage. And you 24 guys, if you bought them early enough and you're already out of your 12-month warranty, getting the recall done gets you another 12 months of warranty. So they could have done nothing and just done the recall, but they at least did something, again, to try to incentivize people to bring those bikes in for that recall inspection. So I will hopefully update you guys eventually when or if this thing goes in for its recall and gets hopefully a passing grade. Apparently it's only 1% affected of all 24 and 25 ZX6R. So more than likely the bike sitting in your garage is going to be just fine, and you can go in there and get a free oil change with your inspection and get a free warranty and be on the way and back out on the road riding. So guys, hopefully this video is kind of informative if you didn't already know, even though you probably did because I took so long to get this thing out, but it is what it is. And here we are with the 25 ZX6R that I've been very much enjoying, and it's been on track, and we don't have chicken strips anymore on the back tires because it's been leaned over on both sides. So guys, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time.